Okay, so your official welcome. Hello, welcome everyone to the Undergraduate Research Education Series. Welcome back if you have attended any of our sessions before. And if you have attended those sessions before, you know who I am, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I'm Shiver. I'm an academic program manager in the Office of Undergraduate Research. I organize the series, and that is why I annoy you with my voice and face at the beginning of each one of these sessions. Okay, so we are going to start off, as we always do, with our land acknowledgement, our one piece of housekeeping about attendance and how you can make sure all of that gets taken care of. And then we're going to hand it over to Brett, who is going to talk about internships and research. Super important stuff, going to be beneficial to absolutely everybody. Okay, so the American Indian Resource Center leads the way for me to acknowledge that the land that the University of Utah resides on has always been on indigenous lands, specifically on the lands of the Shoshone, Paiute, Goshute, and Ute tribes. And I encourage you to think about the indigenous peoples of whatever space you're in today, if you're not also in Salt Lake City. It's imperative that we acknowledge the enduring relationship that exists between indigenous peoples and their traditional territories. Through this land acknowledgement, I want to express my personal gratitude and appreciation for their persevering to protect this land for future generations. The erasure of this relationship between indigenous peoples and their traditional homelands is an insidious form of ongoing colonization, and we need to build our mindfulness of this and of other indigenous protocols. And in my opinion, an absolutely crucial step to respecting indigenous peoples is to give the land back. Okay, much more boring housekeeping. For your attendance, if you are logged in real time to the Zoom call right now, your attendance has already been logged. You don't have to do anything more. If you are watching this video later and would like this to satisfy your education series attendance requirement, please go to the top of the education series page, same page where you found the link to this video. Click on the evaluation form, fill it out with your unit. That's the only way that I can know that you watched the video. So please do that. Yes, okay, so now I'm going to stop sharing my screen and Brett is going to take it over and tell us all about internships and research. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shiver, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of this series. So let me get my PowerPoint going. Okay, can everybody see that okay? Okay, perfect. So my name is Brett Gaffney, and my pronouns are she, her, and I am a career coach at the Career and Professional Development Center, or CPDC, as I'll probably refer to it after that. I used to work at the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences as an internship programmer, but now I'm a career coach. So super excited to be here. Let's talk about some internships and research, the similarities and the differences. So I'm going to start with, there we go. So I'm going to start with just kind of like a little overview of CPDC and what we offer, just kind of like our little spiel, if you will. So whether you're just getting started on your career journey, you're still exploring options or areas of interest, maybe you're making progress on your resume, cover letter, networking, maybe you're finishing up and you need help with applying to graduate school or the big job search, negotiating salary, whatever, like any point of that journey, we're here for you. Okay, we want to help you figure out those next steps that are validating and meaningful to you. We're not here to tell you what you should do. We're here to support you in ways that honor your interests, strengths, and identities. We empower you and recent grads to continually explore and pursue rewarding careers through a variety of services, including career coaching, programming and events, resources, and our career studio. Just to kind of go over our hours, we're located over at the Student Services Building, 350, normally open in person, Monday 2 to 5, Tuesday 2 to 7, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 11 to 2. But we also have live chat hours. So if you just want to like go over your resume, cover letter, quick questions, join our chat. That is Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Tuesday, 5 to 7. All of this is on our website, but I just felt the need to kind of go over it real quick. You can also follow us on the social medias. So let's get to why we're here. Internships and research. So I kind of just want to open the chat up real quick and check in to see like where you're at, because when we hear the words research and internships, there can often be like a lot of stress and confusion about how to tackle the process. I myself was super intimidated when I started applying to internships specifically. So take a minute, kind of reflect about where you are in this process. Maybe you're like, oh no, do I have a resume ready? Is there a specific type of place that I want to work for? Have you looked and like researched your faculty members, projects of interest, anything like that? It's okay if you're just at the start of this process. But so before we kind of get into it, if you want to just pop in the chat, like a single word of what you're feeling, positive, negative, you know, does not matter. My one word would have been intimidated.
I got one submitted to me, direct message. It's accomplished.
Accomplished. Okay, cool. That's great. Anxious. Scared. Yeah. I like that we have kind of both sides of the spectrum here. Anybody else?
Let me throw out confused just for fun.
Yes, confused, which is why we're here. So cool. I'll go ahead and just take those. So confused, accomplished, anxious, scared. I like that we're kind of on different parts of the spectrum here. You know, it's not good or bad to feel any of these feelings. It's all neutral, but hopefully by the end of, let's see, finishing up my thesis right now, but I'm feeling like I don't know what I'm doing after graduation. Yes, that's the big feeling, right? I've been there. Many students that I've talked to have been there. What do I do afterwards, right? Like I'm feeling good about my classes. I'm feeling good about where I am right now. But then your parents, your family, your friends, oh, what's after graduation? What are you doing? And you're like, I don't know. Like, you know, so that's what we're here to kind of help you move towards. Okay. So regardless of how you're feeling, you know, hopefully after this, we'll feel a little bit better about where we're at. Okay. So let's go into our agenda today. What is experiential learning? How do I choose and how do I apply? Wait, yes. So why do we seek out internships and research opportunities? How do we decide which path is right for us? And then what are those like next steps, right? We'll also have a question and answer session at the end, but if you guys have any questions, like as we're going through, please feel free to drop them in the chat or unmute, whatever you're comfortable with. You don't have to wait till the end, okay? Chances are if you have the question, someone else is gonna have the question too. So what is experiential learning and why is it important? So let's start by asking, I'm gonna ask, do you guys know what experiential learning is? Any ideas? Because I hadn't learned this like particular phrase until I got here. So, and I apologize for the dog. She has a peanut butter bone, which I was hoping would distract her during this presentation, but experiential learning. What is it? It's like deceptively simple. We'll go ahead and, oh, yes, learning by doing. That is it. So experiential learning is simply learning through experience, learning by doing. So internships and research are both forms of experiential learning. So experiential learning is kind of it's the umbrella, right? And so they fall under that umbrella. So why would we seek out these opportunities in addition to coursework? Okay, here's some of the reasons. They help us take an active role in exploring our interests, studies, and future career paths, right? learning by doing, you're getting in there, you're doing the thing. Okay. Sometimes we might feel more passive when we're a student in a classroom, listening to lectures, right? But this is you taking that active role in your learning. Okay. You're going to work alongside your peers and professionals in the field beyond the classroom, right? So we're taking a step out of the classroom and into that industry or field of study that you're going to work with. And you can work with professionals and others and learn from each other, right? You get to learn what you do and do not want in a career journey, okay? And I have a good story for this one because I helped a student in CSBS, a criminology major, who wanted to do forensics and wanted to work with cadavers. And they successfully got into the internship with the medical examiner's office of Salt Lake City, which is a coveted internship. They accept one per semester. And she made a meeting with me the week of her first, shift with them, and said, I'm freaking out because I don't want to work with remains. I'm having a hard time being comfortable with bodies and bodily fluids and the things that you kind of understand are a part of that field. But she didn't know she would be uncomfortable until you're in there doing it, right? And so and she was feeling like, she'd failed somehow. She didn't fail because you don't know what you don't know, right? And so now she knows that if she does want to work with forensics, that's not quite the path for her. So it is just important about what you figure out that what you want to do as what you don't want to do, right? You're gonna gain valuable experience for resume and CV building. I'm sure you've all been told at some point that would look great on your resume, and that's true, right? These experiences do look good on your resume and your CV if that's the application material for you, the curriculum vitae, because it shows that active role. It shows that you're taking your experiential learning like seriously and you're going out there and doing it. Okay. So I kind of want to touch on some of this data real quick. So why does it matter, right? Why do we need experiential learning? And so this data is from 2017. It's from the National Association for Colleges and Employers. And so it says nearly 91% of employers responding to the Job Outlook survey prefer that their candidates have work experience, and 65% of the total group indicate that they prefer their candidates to have relevant work experience. So I feel like most of the data that I've seen is from the graduate point of view, of graduates landing that job after graduation. But it's just as important to see this from the employer's perspective as well, right? They're looking for those internships, that research, those publications on your resume and curriculum vitae. Okay, so why is it important? That's part of why it's important. Okay, so here's the big question, right? Like, here's what I kind of came to present today is like, how do I choose between the two? So how many of you guys are struggling, or y'all are struggling with this decision? You could just pop it in the chat. Me. How many are like, I don't know which one to do, or either, if I want to do that. Like, how many of you guys are y'all? I keep saying you guys. Y'all. How many are struggling? Yes. Do I do an internship? Do I do a research? Okay, so that's what we're here to kind of help you work through. Okay, so first off, I have some good news for you. You can do both. Okay, you can do both multiple times in your academic career and after. Okay, I saw some STEM students that would come to me and say, you know what, I'm ready for an internship. I've done the research and then I'm ready for the internship. I've seen students just the opposite. I did this internship, loved it, but now I want to do research. Now I want to work on, my scholarly projects, and you can do both. Okay. They do look great for, both of them look great for graduate school, okay? There's kind of a myth around that, being that I don't need this because I'm going to graduate school and I just need my coursework. I need my good grades and an awesome like application letter and references, and I'm good to go. But these kinds of experiences look like wonderful when you're applying to graduate school, okay? You can make a real world impact right now. Many organizations that you intern with or research are at the forefront of change. I specifically would see a lot of political science majors that were interacting in local and state government, some in national government, you know, federal government, they'd be going down to Washington, D.C. to do their internships, right? So you don't have to wait to start making a change in your field of study, okay? There's nonprofits, STEM, the list goes on and on about places that you can already make a difference, okay? And then you can network with new peers and professionals in your field, which these connections can lead to more opportunities and collaboration in the future. I think networking has a very intimidating sound to it. Like, I have to network. And I recently watched a presentation by my supervisor, Sarah Kowaleski, who does some of our programming at CPDC, and she did networking for introverts. So if you are an introvert and you are worried about networking, message me and I will help you get to that presentation. But networking is just making conversation, talking to people, which can be intimidating. But those connections that you make in these kinds of experiences can lead to other accomplishments going forward, okay? So these are some of the similarities. So let's talk about some of the differences, okay? Now, the differences between internships and research opportunities, they're pretty nuanced. Like, take this with a grain of salt. Yes, I absolutely can, yeah. I'll find that after, when we're in our questions phase, I'll find that presentation for you. So take these differences with a grain of salt, because every organization's different, every university's different. And so these are just kind of some of the differences you might experience along the way, okay? So first is industry versus academia. So internships allow you to work in the industry you've only been studying up until now, okay? You get real world hands-on experience, often with companies, businesses, nonprofits, even the government, like I mentioned before, okay? You get to go into that work force. Research allows you to delve into the ongoing scholarly studies being conducted in your academic field. Most often I see these at universities, laboratories, things like that. So things that you wouldn't necessarily think about in the more of like the workforce as much as academia, okay? And so that's kind of the different setting that you might experience as you look, as you research these different kinds of opportunities, okay? Supervisor versus faculty or PI. PI is principal investigator. That's typically someone that you would report to that can, sorry, let me go back to internships. I have my set slides here. An intern you'll typically report to a supervisor or manager. Reporting to someone's a crucial part of the world of work. It's a great opportunity to touch base and support as you learn and grow. Build relationships that you may then ask for a recommendation for. You know, your supervisors are great to get those references from, okay? For research, you have a little bit more autonomy, which we'll touch base on in a little bit. But typically you'll report to either a faculty member, a mentor, or a principal investigator, okay? These are people that can assist you or collaborate with you as you conduct your research. You may be able to ask for letters of recommendation or reference afterwards as well. So that's another similarity those two have, okay? Time-bound versus fluctuating. Internships are usually offered for a very set start and end date, okay? Now that we're in the times that we are, those may change a little bit. We've seen some organizations going into fully remote, or some of those end dates might fluctuate. But for the most part, an internship is a set, you know, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. kind of set time, okay? And then research work fluctuates. So frequently students may hop on and off projects during their semester or academic career. They might do different kinds of projects or back and forth on the same one. So that's a little bit more of like a looser timeline when it comes to research. Learning objectives versus literature progression. Internships usually come with learning outcomes that you'll create at the start of it, and then you'll work with your supervisor to achieve those learning outcomes by the end of your internship, right? I want to know more about how the democratic process works. I want to learn more about group child psychology. You'll have those mindsets going into the internship, and hopefully you'll reach those goals by the end, right? Research projects primarily are focusing on the progression of literature in that field. So you're going into the research with the hopes that you're going to further that study, right? Depending on the field, right? You're going to be hopefully advancing the study of that research, okay? And hopefully publish which we'll talk about in a little bit, but hopefully publish a paper. Guided training versus autonomy. Again, this is kind of a little bit what I talked about already. Internships, you'll have a supervisor, right? That kind of guides you through training, just like you would at a new job. As a researcher, there's a little bit more opportunity for autonomy. You can kind of lead your own project if that's an opportunity that you have, but you're still gonna have guidance, right? You'll have guidance from your faculty member or your PI, specifically because research has to adhere to certain guidelines and standards if you want to publish that research. So that kind of guidance to ensure quality is necessary. So it's not necessarily like, if you're a researcher, you're just kind of out there floating with no guidance. You still have that. It's just a little bit more loose. Okay. Hands-on skills versus publication. So this is kind of what you leave with. In an internship, you're learning by doing, right? So you have these skills and that job experience to hopefully go into your next job and your next like work opportunity. Okay. In many research opportunities, you'll have the chance to publish your work in academic journals, which is just an awesome feeling, especially if they are in print. It's super cool to see your work out there in the world and you are contributing to that conversation in your field. Okay. Okay. So those are some of the differences. Again, there's, depends on the organization you're working with. Next, we're actually going to do a little bit of an activity. Okay. So activity time, I'm going to drop a, how do I share? Let's see. I was going to do an attachment, but I guess I don't see where to do that now.
You can just drag and drop it into the chat box.
Oh, can I? Okay. Perfect. Values at work. Come on. Oh, it's not letting me. That's silly. Okay, so can you guys see here? I'll just bring it up. Can y'all see this one okay? Okay, I'm sorry about that. I should have practiced a little bit more with attaching documents. So this is an activity that we like to do to help you align your values with those that you're going to work with. Okay. So to kind of think about this, we define values as things that you need in your workspace in order to not just survive and like get through, but to thrive, right? So for example, if you prize having communication with your supervisor or your faculty member, right? Communication is going to be up there for you. If you need variation in your day-to-day activities and you can't just do like the same stuff every day, then you might choose change and variety, okay? So let me see if I can zoom this so that you can see all of them. Okay, you can. Okay, so take a few minutes, look at my list here and try to get like your top 5, that you look for when you're looking for your next experiential learning opportunity. Okay. What are your top values in the workplace? For example, I'll give another example. When I came into this position, my number one was like holistic mental wellness. And I'm happy to say that I found it here, but that was something that I needed in my next, step on my career journey. So if you're having a hard time picking one of these, feel free to start crossing out what you don't want, right? Or, listing what you don't want, something that, do you not want drama in your, maybe you don't thrive well in competitiveness, like toxic competitiveness. So just take a few minutes. I'll set our little timer here for maybe just 5 minutes if y'all want to take a look at the list and maybe pick your top 5. And actually, I think I just figured out how to pop it in here. Maybe not. No. That would only work on my computer.
On the chat box, there's also this little icon for a piece of paper that looks like it has a folded corner.
Yeah, I just don't. I've seen it on my other chats. I just don't see it on here.
Oh, huh.
It's weird. Yeah, because I've done attachments on these things before, but I don't know.
Well, if you email them to me later, I will make sure that I put them on the education series page so folks will have them available after this session as well.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you so much. Perfect. And now if y'all want to drop some of those, like some of your top values in the chat, you can kind of go over them. Yes. Yes. Chill and understanding people. I feel that in my bones. Mm-hmm. Challenging problems. Yeah. Yeah. Practicality. Work on the frontiers of knowledge. Yep. Help others. Oh, we've got a couple of the same. Cool. Independence. Yeah. Challenging problems. Give y'all just another minute or so to pop those in there. These are good values. Moral fulfillment. Yeah. Work-life balance. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Adventure. There's a lot of work on the frontiers of knowledge. That's exciting. A lot of y'all are excited about that. Independence. Happiness is so important too. My goodness. So important. I think we've perpetuated a little bit of a stereotype of like, you have to hate your job. And it's just not true. Okay, so this is great. This is wonderful. These are great values for y'all to have in your top 5. So kind of the point, right, is to know your own values, right? Because having that moment of introspection is important when it comes to how you search for these kinds of opportunities. And so it's good to know where you stand, but that your values are matching with the organization or field that you're going to go into, right? We can't work with a place that, like, maybe, you know, obviously they're not going to have your same top 5, but like they can't be wildly different, or else it may not work for you, right? So based on your needs, you know, these help you understand what that next step could be, okay? Which is, I'm gonna go back to my presentation here. How do I apply, right? Now you've, you know, kind of figured out where you stand and what you want out of your next opportunity here. So how do we get it? So what are some places that we might start looking for internships and research opportunities? Pop them in the chat for me. What are some, where could we maybe find those? Yes, reach out to professors. Absolutely. Yeah. Advisors, professors, AMS, other students, programs on campus like this one. I was about to say, like, spoiler alert, Office of Undergraduate Research is hosting this this series. Like, go to them. Yeah, programs on campus. These are all 110% correct. Yeah. Anything else? Do we know, like, maybe, let's see. Oh, Reddit. Yeah. Handshake. Yes, yes, yes. That's our baby. That's CPDC's main focus is Handshake. Yeah. This is good. I actually did not know that about Reddit. That's a platform I haven't spent a crazy amount of time on, so that's good to know. Okay, awesome. Yeah. So I mean, y'all basically did my next slide for me. So how do we apply for these things, right? If you're unsure where to start, seeing a career coach like me or an internship coordinator is always a great idea. What I mean is we're starting with internships and then we'll do another separate one for research. A lot of the colleges have an internship coordinator already settled in that college. So see if you have one first. And if not, you know, then you can reach out to others. But that's always a good place to kind of start to brainstorm your ideas, right? Make a list of your favorite studies and interests. Find the similarities and themes in your list, and they might point you in the right direction. Okay. Same goes for research. I'm also going to I'll send Shiver to include in the presentation a activity called the wandering map. All it is literally is y'all know like those bubble maps. So you'll start writing words, interests, hobbies, studies, previous jobs. You'll start writing just a bunch of words on your blank sheet of paper, circle all of those in a bubble, start to make connections, right? What do you have in common? Me, for example, I love horror, like the genre of horror, but I also write. So then, you know, when I connect those two things, I was like, oh, I could write about horror. And so, you know, those connections are going to start making themselves appear as you go through that list. So I'll include that activity as well. It's the wandering map. Update your resume and cover letter. Whenever the right opportunity comes around, you're going to want to like have that stuff ready to submit to that job, because sometimes those opportunities just, they'll post the internship and then somebody's, snagged it. So you can access, we have a resume and cover letter guide on the CPDC website, but you can also just come to us with questions about those as well. And then my personal favorite, and I promise I didn't even go to Purdue, but Purdue has an online writing lab, OWL, and they have not just stunning, formatting like MLA, APA, Chicago, that kind of stuff, but they have a whole job and like application materials and how to apply to grad school. Like they have a whole section on what we are talking about today. So don't hesitate to check that out. It's free to the public. That's the one I'm always toting. And I didn't even go there. Search for opportunities, and y'all already pointed out a few places. Thank you so much. That's perfect. Search for opportunities. You guys already pointed out Handshake, go to career fairs, LinkedIn, University of Utah databases. We've got plenty of them in each department, right? And then, sorry, my train totally rolled off the tracks for a minute there. If there is an organization that you already know you love, there is no harm in reaching out and asking if they have opportunities for you, okay? Because the worst thing they're going to tell you is no, and then you just keep going, right? So there's no harm in sort of making those cold calls and seeing if they have volunteer hours that maybe you can turn into an internship, okay? So that's also an option there. And then, as y'all pointed out, connect with alumni, faculty, organizations for more information and perspective. Former interns in your departments can be a great resource to find out about. You can find those on Handshake, LinkedIn, or we have a brand new platform called Forever Utah. It just launched this semester, and it's kind of like a LinkedIn, but just for alum. So you can get on there and talk to former alumni that have literally graduated with your same degree and are studying your same field, right? Ask them questions, be curious, cast a wide net when submitting applications, okay? The more applications you got, the greater the chance that you'll land an internship. But this does kind of come with a disclaimer, be aware of your own limits, especially during a busy semester. If you start to try to reach out, like I've sent in 20 applications, just don't overdo it, right? Take accountability of like what's on your plate, and don't stress yourself out too much, okay? But yeah, the more applications, the more chance obviously you have of getting one, okay? Once you are accepted, you negotiate or clarify the terms of the internship. Ask about, what are the hours that you're thinking about for me? What's the length of the internship? Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it paid or unpaid? Hopefully it's paid. There are opportunities if you do have an unpaid internship and are in that financial need. There are opportunities across campus to get funding. Okay, so check those out as well. Is the internship local? Are you going to need transportation? Is it remote? What are the learning objectives? Basically, like what's expected of you as an intern, and then what are you expecting out of the experience, right? Make sure that you're on the same page with your supervisor on that. Okay. Okay. So applying for research, again, make an appointment. Make an appointment with your undergraduate research advisor. OUR has amazing resources beyond this education series. So reach out, make connections to get started, okay? And again, make a list of your favorite courses and your passion projects. Just like the one I recommended for internships, the wandering map can serve you well, okay? Find what those common themes are and help those guide you to the topics you most want to pursue for research, okay? Again, y'all are correct. Connect with faculty, advisors, and peers in your field of study. The U is a research institution, meaning that your professors are also engaged in research, right? So if you have a favorite class, get to know that professor, ask them what they're doing, right? Maybe they need assistance in their research, right? So again, that networking, right? Keeping that in mind. You can also propose your own ideas to your peers, professors for feedback, right? It can be super intimidating, but remember, like I said, you don't know what you don't know, right? So let's ask questions, okay? And much like getting those application materials ready for internships, create or update your query letters or proposals. You'll want to have those materials ready for when the right opportunity comes along. OUR has wonderful tips and tricks on how to contact faculty members, right? Especially like how to tackle that professional language that you need to have in order to reach out to those professors and not just be like, hey, what are you doing? What are you studying? Do you want help on that? Right? There's a way to approach them. And the OUR website has awesome tips on that. Okay. Search for opportunities. OUR, again, often on and off campus. Plenty of opportunities and resources there. They even have a faculty database where you can search for research that's already being done in your discipline. Okay. And again, you can use those other resources like LinkedIn, Forever Utah. Those are good things to reach out to and see what other professionals in your field are doing. Okay. Less so Handshake because it's just more of a like job board than it is for research. Attend seminars and workshops like this one. I'm sure you noticed like while registering that there's a whole catalog of current and archived events. So take advantage of the varied perspectives and guidance. I got through my whole grad school degree without realizing that like my campus had like these kinds of resources and opportunities. And that's what we're all here for, is to help you get set up for success, right? Explore funding, course credit, and or publication. We want you to receive some kind of credit or support when you finish your research and during, right? There are stipends. OUR has SPUR, right? The summer program for undergraduate research. They have UROP, undergraduate research opportunities program. There's travel and small grants, right? There's, depending on your department, there might be a course credit that we can get you so that we can add to that degree audit and get you closer to your graduation, right? Search for programs at other institutions as well. Some nationwide programs can send you to different institutions depending on what project you get selected for, right? Some of these are in person, some of these are remote. So, you know, I've seen students take like a gap year to do research and then come back, finish their degree, whatever works for you, but you can look outside of the U, right? I know we are a happy little nest here, but you can venture out of it. So, any questions?
And let me go ahead and apologize. If any student submitted a pre-submitted a question, my Zoom won't pull that report. And so I cannot just ask them for you. You will have to ask them for yourself now.
Sorry, y'all. This is the time. And I may not have all the answers, but I will try. Do my best.
Well, let me start us off with a question that I know that I've gotten from several. Oh, no, there's one in the chat. We'll come back.
Okay.
If you've had an internship as an undergrad and want to go to grad school, is it worth getting another internship at some point in grad school?
You know, it's really about what you want out of that internship, right? So if you've already had one, you go to grad school, you're in grad school. That's when I did my internship, I was in grad school. But that's because I wanted to learn about marketing, and it was a marketing internship, right? So it's mostly about what your goals are for your next step, right? So if there's an internship in something that you can see yourself doing in the future, why not take it, right? Now, if you're thinking about it as like a qualification, I don't know as much about, getting it in grad school and then like maybe you're in your master's and you want to then go to the PhD afterwards. I don't know how much that would influence you getting into that next degree. I'm sure it would. Any kind of experiential learning experience is, which says like a double there, is beneficial to you, right? But then you need to think about, is it unpaid? And then maybe you don't have time or expenses for an unpaid internship at that time. It's really what you want to get out of that experience, is what I would say.
Okay, I will ask my question now while other folks
Yeah.
are typing in the chat. So I've had several students over the years ask if there are research focused internships. And then if there are, because there are, how to list those on a resume or a CV. If it's both, right? It's
yes.
an internship where you're working for some company, some industry partner, but it's also doing research. How do we talk about those kind of overlapping experiences?
God, that's a great question. My gut is like, where are you sending that CV to? Right? Like what is the opportunity that you're hoping to get? If it's more research based, then I would kind of frame it in more of that research like realm as a research. But then if it's, more of an industry position, right? Which I guess a lot of those don't ask for CVs as much, but then I might tailor it more towards an internship. I think it's just kind of how, I don't want to say like how you market it, but like how you frame it, right? In the CV, I think I would just tailor it to that, whatever that opportunity that you're applying to. That's just my 2 cents on that. Yeah. It's just tailoring it. Because I talk about tailoring resumes a lot. And you can take like the same experience can look different on like 5 different resumes because of who you're submitting it to. So that's just my thoughts.
And I would say something similar, if you're applying to professional school or graduate school, and you're wondering like, how do I talk about this industry experience, internship, or research experience?
Right.
It depends
Yeah.
on the program and what their focus is. And then you target and tailor it to what they're looking for. You hype that up.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You just kind of amp up that part of it. Yeah. When I was looking at MFA programs for poetry, there were certain schools that were really heavy into the teaching side of things. And so then I had to like amp up like, okay, I've been a tutor, I've done this, that align more with teaching. But then there were some that were just workshop, they're just like, you come here to just write. And in that case, I didn't need as much of that kind of experience. So yeah, totally, like just amp up what they're asking for. Yeah. God, that's such a good question. Anybody else?
I'll just keep asking questions. Y'all can't get out of here early. So is there like a good rule of thumb that we could follow in thinking about what different long-term goals are going to ask us for? So if I'm thinking about grad school versus an industry job, is it like a one-to-one mapping? The industry job is going to prefer an internship. Grad school is going to prefer research experience. Is that true? Is that a myth? Thoughts?
Thoughts. Yeah. I personally think like that, again, like taking that with a grain of salt, because I think every grad school, every organization, every business, whatever is that next step is going to be so different, especially now. I think maybe that like a rule of thumb used to be more of the case. But so many programs, both in industry and in academia, have shifted like their way of thinking. even just like especially so going kind of to internships and industry, the world of work has shifted dramatically during this pandemic. Universities, right, are like trying to figure out what do students actually want, because it seems like students kind of really want more remote opportunities than they first thought they did. And that's different at every school, right? But yeah, I think even more now, it's a case by case. Like, I don't know that that's just my experience kind of looking into those opportunities, is that it's different everywhere. Yeah.
What are the key words that you would look for on a professional school or a graduate school's program description, or an industry job, an industry job's job application, that you can tell students, like, this is where you would look, this is how you would look, the kind of words that they're going to use that might indicate one or another is preferred?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of going back to that values sheet, right? Like using those kinds of keywords to figure out if they align with yours. Speaking on industry, one of the ones that I necessarily kind of like worry about is like fast-paced environment. Like being able to multitask in a fast-paced environment, even if that's what that opportunity is asking for, that one always gives me a little bit of pause, because they might be looking to just kind of wring everything out of you, right? That they can. Gosh, that's such a good question. For research, personally, as someone, and quite a few of you listed like independence as one of your top values. And so when looking into research, figuring out what that program, or even in grad school, how much autonomy are they giving you in that grad program versus how much guidance? Because when I went to grad school, I thought I was going to have a little bit more guidance on how to be a graduate assistant teaching. We got like a 2-week crash course in teaching, and then you were in the classroom. And I didn't realize that. And that's because, they didn't quite say that in those terms on the website or on the applications and that kind of thing. So that's what's really important is I think the keywords, yeah. And then also reaching out to people that are already there, right? They've done it, right? Like, so either they've graduated from that school, that program, they have already interned at that internship, they're actively researching at that opportunity, right? Reaching out to those people and kind of professionally saying, what's the tea? How is it really happening in that environment? Because I think that we can fancy up how we list things in those job descriptions on the graduate website, and that may not be exactly what your experience might be when you get there. And so, yeah, I think reaching out to like multiple voices, is so important to get that perspective back. I think I went off topic, but
No, I think you were right on topic. But the question was, how and where and what would students be looking for an indication of the preference of the program? And you answered it right. It's how they're talking about it. It's the required application materials.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And can I just say, if you're thinking a few years out, you can be very intentional about this, right?
Yes.
So like, and I'm just making stuff up. I don't know. I want to do American Studies at Columbia University. Go to that page. What are they asking for? Their application may change over the next couple of years as you continue in your education, but that's going to give you a good idea of the things that you might want to work into your schedule now.
Yes, 110%. Yeah.
I do not know if Columbia University has American
Studies. American Studies. Yeah. No, for sure. yeah, it's never too early to look into that stuff. Not at all. I actually love it when I would get students that, well, I would love hate, because normally over at CSBS, when I would do an internship programming, sometimes I'd get freshmen, which is great, because then you're kind of like, you're starting your education career, and you're kind of like, okay, what you are being intentional, exactly like that. But these students also tended to be very overstressed, because they're already thinking about, you know, the internship, the job, the after graduation. And so I would say, just, yes, be like super intentional. That is like, star that and put it on a note somewhere, but like, don't let intentional veer into like over stressing yourself. I think you know, be able to look into the future, and also be planted in the now. Because things change, as we have seen. Goodness. Oh, what I guess we're about that time.
Yes, let me share my screen with my
Yes.
slide.
Oh, I will stop.
I threatened you all that you'd have to stay to the hour, but I lied to you.
Lies.
Okay, well, thank you so much. If you all have other questions later, email me, email Brett. Hopefully that's okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just going to drop my email on the chat.
Yeah, perfect.
I totally forgot that.
And then just to remind us of the attendance stuff, if you have logged into a Zoom call in real time right now, your attendance has already been checked off. You don't have to worry about that. If you are watching this video for your education series attendance requirement later, please go back to the top of the education series page and fill out that evaluation form with your unit, so that I can check off that you have watched this video and have that attendance taken care of. And now I'm going to stop recording.